It would confuse me and the listener to try to integrate how I think about these same issues in 2020 into text written over 20 years ago. Instead, I have added a new Chapter 10, A Sea of Gender, which offers a contemporary 2020 roadmap for understanding how gender, sex, develops in individuals and how big-picture patterns of difference and sameness emerge. Then, in a new afterword, I follow into the present some of the topics examined at length in the original chapters. I describe, for example, recent attempts to, again, limit competitive athletics to only certain kinds of women, looking especially at the International Olympic Committee's ban on long-distance women runners who have naturally high testosterone levels. I update people on the intersex rights movement and changes in clinical treatment of infants born with mixed genitalia, and I review a rapidly growing literature on gender-sex differences and similarities in the brain. Sexing the body is a highly synthetic work, and thus most listeners, be they academicians or members of a general audience, will be unfamiliar with, and quite possibly skeptical of, at least some of the areas on which I touch. My biggest desire in writing this book is to stimulate discussion and reading on the part of my readers, so the rich and up-to-date bibliography draws on significant literatures in fields ranging from science studies to feminism to sexuality studies to human development to systems theory and biology. I have also included a fair amount of artwork, and again this is unusual for a book of this type. Some of the illustrations consist of cartoons or humorous drawings describing events discussed in the text. I was inspired to take this route by others who have conveyed scientific ideas using cartoons. Many people think of science as a humorless profession, and feminists are always accused of lacking a sense of humor. But this feminist scientist finds humor everywhere. I hope that some of the illustrations encourage people suspicious of the cultures of science and of feminism to see that it is possible to be deeply serious about one's profession while maintaining a sense of humor. Biology itself is a very visual field, as a glance at current biology textbooks reveals. Some of my illustrations, then, are intended to convey information visually rather than verbally. In this, I am merely being true to my own academic tradition. At any rate, I encourage people to laugh if so moved, to study diagrams if he or she wishes, or to skip over the illustrations and focus on the text if that is the listener's preferred mode. Chapter 1. Dueling Dualisms. Male or female? In the rush and excitement of leaving for the 1988 Olympics, Maria Patino, Spain's top woman hurdler, forgot the requisite doctor's certificate stating, for the benefit of Olympic officials, what seemed patently obvious to anyone who looked at her: she was female. But the International Olympic Committee, IOC, had anticipated the possibility that some competitors would forget their certificates of femininity. Patino had only to report to the Femininity Control Head Office, scrape some cells off the side of her cheek, and all would be in order. Or so she thought. A few hours after the cheek scraping, she got a call. Something was wrong. She went for a second examination, but the doctors were mum. Then, as she rode to the Olympic Stadium to start her first race, track officials broke the news. She had failed the sex test. She may have looked like a woman, had a woman's strength, and never had reason to suspect that she wasn't a woman, but the examinations revealed that Patino's cells sported a Y chromosome, and that her labia hid testes within. Furthermore, she had neither ovaries nor a uterus. According to the IOC's definition, Patino was not a woman. She was barred from competing on Spain's Olympic team. Spanish athletic officials told Patino to fake an injury and withdraw without publicizing the embarrassing facts. When she refused, the European press heard about it and the secret was out. Within months after returning to Spain, Patino's life fell apart. Spanish officials stripped